there's other people like role-playing games. I don't. That's fine. It's a big market too. That's not how movies work. It's not how television works. You are not the main character in a movie or a television show. In fact, if you are, it is terrible, because the whole point is to tell a story where you empathize with another character, or their experience is something that you're following. So to a certain extent, I've always seen you can bring cinematic technique to video games, and it's awesome. You can bring cinematic level quality to video games, and it's awesome. But the things that fundamentally make a movie experience what they are, which is sitting passively, wanting to sit passive. If you're sitting in a movie theater wanting to do things, we're failing, right? I mean, if you want to look at your phone, we are failing. Like, a good movie should not make you want to do that. In a video game, you want to have as much feedback, as much haptic response as possible while you're playing. So to me, they're two entirely, and I'm more excited about the gaming possibilities, and I've played a bunch of these games. In fact, I was just playing Super Hot. I don't know if anyone here has played Super Hot. Wow, as few people have climbed Everest, weirdly. Well, Super Hot is a VR game that I ended up playing on my Xbox because it's such a cool game. So I can't wait to play it in VR. I just got to find out where it is. So to a certain extent, I think there's a huge division between what you're trying to accomplish with gaming and what you're trying to accomplish with narrative storytelling. They're almost inversions of each other. That said, there's aspects of AR technology that obviously could be helpful in filmmaking or in storytelling, and probably there's some aspect of VR that could enhance it a little bit. But the truth is, the example I was using is like, could you make your phone a shoe? Well, yes, you could probably make your phone a shoe, but why don't you just have a shoe and a phone? And that's kind of the way I feel about how these things cross. That said, Ready Player One is literally about the subject of AR and VR and all these other things. So is The Matrix. So it makes for good material for storytelling.
If I can say, I think an interesting new area is, the previous speaker showed the video of The Void. And, there's actually lots and lots of companies around the world building technology which lets you kind of take this VR experience into a location-based experience. And whether you go to a movie theater or a mall or a specialized location or an arcade, the idea that you have an experience where you go into a space and you walk around, either on your own or with friends, making it social, and you interact with the virtual environment. And while I think all of the technology today is still at a pretty nascent stage, and you sort of there's limitations to what you can do, you can see how rapidly it is evolving. And that's if you sort of think of the phenomenon of Pokemon Go as a super early version of what the possibilities around AR gaming and AR experiences might be, and look at how important the experience of walking and getting out of the house and the physicality of that experience as a core element, and think of that transported to a fully immersive VR environment. I think from a studio standpoint, we just see tremendous potential in that, and it opens up all these new frameworks and a whole new canvas for how you think about things creatively. And I completely agree with Zach. I mean, it's in some ways it's hard to take the existing ways in which we portray narrative content and sort of just superimpose these new technologies on it. In some ways, you have to think about it as a totally new medium that maybe needs to be approached in a totally different way.
Right. I mean, I've had so many pitches from people saying, "Look what we did. We have this VR story, and what's great is, look at what we did. We made it so you have to look in this direction in order, so that way we get around the storytelling problem." And you just want to say, okay, well, you could have just done that with regular filming. Like, if you're not letting the viewer look wherever you want, that should signal that there's a problem with you trying to tell a story in VR. Whereas, if you look at it as a game or an experience, then people can look whichever direction they want to.
I suppose from a marketing and monetization aspect, one of the things, and I find this one of the things that I love most about Ready Player One as a novel, is its deep humanity. You have somebody whose start point, Wade Watts, is an escape into a virtual reality because his actual reality is so painful, but through that virtual world, he makes profound connections. So it's something that's at once isolative and lonely, and yet deeply connected. And from a marketing vantage, I guess, as we talk about what are the things that can connect to the most consumers, AR and these advances that we're talking about, ARKit and AR Core, there's discussion about these modes being available and applications being available to people, 400 million devices within the next few years. So I was curious for both of you just to comment from the Studio Vantage, where are you interested, and particularly you're rolling out globally to all sorts of companies like Drama Fever in Korea and streaming companies across Asia. Where do you see your ability in the next 2 years, 3 years to be able to transform to the most audience? And Zach, from your vantage of storytelling and audience.
I would say, so I think we definitely, from a studio standpoint, we definitely envision being very active across the entire spectrum. So we're definitely looking at how do you create compelling, visceral, evocative VR experiences, and we want to experiment with lots of different ways and work with lots of different partners in doing that. And then we look at AR as an experience. I think both of the things you said are true. One, the installed base of devices that can deliver some kind of AR experience, certainly mobile devices, and the installed base of developers